Hello everybody and welcome to the entertainment headquarters, and of course welcome to Kaiju Connections, my segment on the channel dedicated to all things kaiju, giant monster on film and screen. And joining me, as you can see, I have a large host of guests to talk about a film that helped create the kaiju genre. And so let's introduce my merry men of guests. We have Jedi Granville, Big Bad Wolf, Thrash Pondo Pons, Kaiju Enigma, Ultra Jake Hall, Ulvin, and Mark Justice. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you for having us on.
Thank you for having us on.
Thank
Always
you
a
for,
pleasure.
thank you for accepting the invitation, because this is a film that I've been looking forward to talk about for a long, long time. Because as you can see with the T-shirt I bought.
Yes, I saw that. I thought, oh, that's awesome.
Which I absolutely love. And I also have the creature himself. Of course.
Very nice.
Very
we have to talk about none other than the Beast from 20,000 Fathoms.
Yes.
Possibly the most influential kaiju film ever.
Yes, well, it's one of the ones that started. Or there would be no Godzilla 1954 if there was no Beast from 20,000 Fathoms from 1953. So we'll start this thing off like we always do. I'm going to ask you, lovely gentlemen, when you first remember your first viewing of this particular film. So, Mr. Jedi Granville, would you like to get the party started?
I sure will. Now, I don't know if I'm lovely, but I'll take it for whatever it is.
Just take it and go.
Okay, here we go. I can honestly say I knew about this film way back in advance, back in the early 70s. I did know about it, but I would not see the film until like late 80s, early 90s, and I think it's in between because it's kind of a blur at that point. But when I first did see it, it was like, wow. I mean, I can understand why the so-called hype about it was so grandiose. And like I say, still is a stigma, and as Thrash says, it's still one of those films that actually got the ball rolling for kaiju films. So
yes. Big Bad Wolf.
So growing up, there was no way for me to actually see the film because I knew about the film ever since I was a Godzilla fan. Well, I was a Godzilla fan at the age of 3, but I never knew about this film till I was 5 or 6 because of Cinemassacre Monster Madness back when he was a big thing on YouTube. And of course, there was a website where we could see all the kaiju ever created, and the Beast with 20,000 Fathoms on it. So I knew of it. I knew of its reputation. I knew why it's so significant to the genre and to the fans. But there was no way to access it at the time because it was still like the early 21st century. And so like the film that you would think it would be on like AMC, TMC, which were known for showing old school films, especially old school Godzilla films, or even on Stars, HBO and stuff like that. It never showed up. So there was no way for me to, unfortunately, access the film. My first viewing of it was when I got home from my first G-Fest, where I met some of you lovely gents in person. That was my first time actually being able to finally see the film on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, and when you were, you managed to buy yourself the Beast himself.
Yep.
Yes.
I always wanted an X Plus. I was very tempted to get a Godzilla one, but I'm like, you know what? Let's get something that was more influential. And that's because, even though there's going to be a lot of G fans out there to extremists that are going to argue that Godzilla is most influential because he did help push it to new heights, but it's because of him we had a movement started.
Yeah. So when I was at G-Fest this year, I seen this T-shirt, which is the Beast from 20,000 Fathoms T-shirt. There was a guy who had like a retro T-shirt stand, and he was doing all the retro T-shirts for all the classic, like not all of them, but a number of classic kaiju T-shirts. So I got this one, I got the Gorgo shirt, and out the corner of the eye, I was standing looking over.
Kevin, your audio's really bad.
It's kind of cutting out.
Audio became warbled, and you just kind of lost it.
All right, can you hear us now?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Let's say it's like
take it over from the beginning.
we would love to hear that lovely English
got
accent.
the shirt at G-Fest.
All right, so I got the T-shirt at G-Fest, and out the corner of my eye, I looked over, and I seen a box, and it had a Rhedosaurus on. I'm thinking, what could that possibly be? So I went over, and they had a defo reel, because X Plus do like basically their version like of a really detailed, I guess, pop vinyl. It's like a miniature version of a figure. So I ended up getting the defo reel of the Rhinoceros, which, it's like one of my favourites of my collection now. So I'm very proud that I was able to find that at J-Fest this year with my good friend, Mr. Walter Ross. In the comment section, we have Queen Glamazona. Nice to see you.
There she is.
Used to share.
She did.
A lot of classic monster movies were on that channel. That was really good to see. Yeah.
TNT was very good.
Thrash.
TNT as well.
Yeah. It was called Monster Fest, and it ran for years, and I still miss it.
Yeah.
But
so can Can you remember your first time seeing this particular film?
I sure can. It was like 1975. I was in second grade, and it was on Creature Double Feature. And I remember I thought there was another film that I had seen with my father. It was a schlocky, no budget horror movie called, I think it was called Beast from 6,000 Fathoms or something like that, which I remember I watched with my dad. My dad and I, that was our Sunday thing for years. Saturday thing, we'd sit together on the couch and watch old horror movies. And I thought it was that. And I was pleasantly surprised because what was a fun little sci-fi film is like a blowy. It was like a Godzilla. It was like, to me, it was like a Godzilla film, and it was like a Godzilla film on many levels. But I remember getting to see it again. So I would have been 7 going on 8, and I just remember falling in love with it. And you know what? I loved not just the monster, but the whole story arc, the whole thing about the professor trying to uncover the whole science behind it, and even the weird love story seemed to work out okay. You know what I'm saying? Right. It's just a really fun film.
The love story kind of felt rushed, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it was rushed, but
when you had an hour and 19 minutes, you got to put a lot in.
Yeah, so
it was the 50s, though. That was pretty common. You know,
there's
a love story by the end of the movie. Yeah.
Right. Even 1950s mystery sci-fi movies or pop movies that all had a love story. So it was just the way of the times, I guess.
And they figure we've seen it all before, so why really put any effort into it? Here's 2 people; they're gonna fall in love.
Yeah. Jake Hall.
The first time I watched it was on TV. I think it was Monster Vision when I watched it, or maybe on another channel. My mom recorded it. It was the first time I watched it, and I loved it ever since. And then I got the VHS version of it. Then I ended up getting the DVD, and then finally the Blu-ray of it because I love the film so much. Still hoping one day to get a figure for it, but that was when the first time I watched it was when my mom recorded it off of TV.
Yeah, well, if you go to G-Fest next year, you never know, you might find your dream comes true and you pick one up. But Alvin,
so my first time, I originally had a footage of monster movies and stuff on VHS. Like my uncle would clip off like monster highlights, whether it be the giant claw, the Clash of Jason and the Argonauts, all those cool movies and stuff. So I got to see footage of that. But my first full time was this year, yesterday, watching it.
Oh, cool. Nice. Yes. So, Mark Justice, can you remember your first time seeing this particular film?
No, I can't remember the first time I saw it because I was watching these movies all the time. That's pretty much all I watched, like that, Johnny Socko, Ultraman, Speed Racer. So on Friday nights, we had multiple horror hosts where I live, which is in the vicinity of Cleveland, about a half hour west of Cleveland. So we had multiple horror hosts. That's what I grew up with. We had the Ghoul, who was an offspit of Ghoulardi. And he did crazy. He did a lot of like Kaiju, Gamera, and things like that. But he did a lot of schlock horror. Then we had Houlihan and Big Chuck, which then became Big Chuck and Little John. And then we also had Superhost. And Superhost did a lot of monster movies. So I probably saw this for the first time on a Superhost episode, Saturday afternoon, something like that. Yeah. But it could have been on either them or a Houlihan and Big Chuck, but it was probably Superhost as a kid. Yeah.
Well, according to Queen Glamazona, similar story to you. She said that there was a show called The Evil Witch where the host was a guy who dressed as a witch and they would show vintage horror films in her area. Yeah. And, of course, we have covered The Giant Claw. We did that, I think, 2 months ago on this show. So if you want to check out that review, that is available on the Kaiju Collections.
I regret not being on that one. That's one of my absolute favorite movies of all time. It is.
We had a lot of fun with that one.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, goodness gracious.
Well, I can remember, didn't we meme all over that film?
We had quite a conversation and quite a laugh over the Giant Claw. But when it comes to this particular film, The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms is a 1953 American independent monster film directed by Eugene Laurie, with stop-motion animation by Ray Harryhausen. It is partly based on Ray Bradbury's 1951 short story of the same name, which was later reprinted as The Foghorn. In the film, a giant dinosaur, the Rhedosaurus, is released from its frozen state in the Antarctic by an atomic bomb test. Paul Christian stars as Thomas Hesbit, the foremost surviving witness of the creature before it causes havoc while traveling towards New York. Paula Raymond, Cecil Calloway, and Kenneth Toby are featured in supporting roles.
Yes.
So,
and a very young Lee Van Cleef in this movie too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Kenneth Toby did a lot of the same character. I mean, he plays the same character, very similar in It Came From Beneath the Sea. And he's also in The Thing from Another World, playing this kind of military captain, kind of no nonsense kind of guy, you know, who can get things done. Yeah.
Nice to see you too.
Hey,
Tracy.
Can I talk about Kenneth Toby for a quick sec?
Yeah, go ahead.
So my first experience with Kenneth Toby, this is not any monster movies. He was in a Western TV series, Davy Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier, on Disney in the I think it was the 60s, or might have been 60s or 70s, somewhere around there. But that was my first experience with him. And then my first experience with Lee Van Cleef was Escape from New York.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Yes.
Mine was probably The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Yeah, mine was The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say that was probably my first one too, because I would watch a lot of that with my grandfather growing up. He loved westerns.
Yeah. But another thing I want to mention, The Foghorn, which was this short story, over in Japan, I think it must have been around 2014, that was the inspiration for the stop-motion movie, The Howl from Beyond the Fog, which we covered a couple of months ago, which is a beautiful little Japanese short story about this creature that lives in this foggy lake who protects this young woman. And he basically goes and wrecks the town when someone tries to kill this young woman. And it's a really beautiful little short. If you haven't seen it, it's available on Tubi. It is quite an interesting story, and that was inspired by The Foghorn, which, of course, was the inspiration behind Beasts from 20,000 Fathoms. So, Big Bad Wolf, because I know you're a huge fan of this, would you like to get us started with the plot of this particular film?
Yeah, sure. I can do my best. So I know at the beginning, we'll give it a narration that's talking about, it's called Operation Experiment, because they're trying to keep this the work they're trying to do as secretive as possible without the public knowing. So they call it Operation Experiment, where we have a team of scientists go within the Arctic regions, which is north of Canada, because they have this atomic bomb they wanted to test. I guess their idea was they wanted to see how powerful the atomic bomb was and what its after effects would be when they used it. Because afterwards, it's Professor Tom. I forget his name, but it starts with an N, and a couple of others. Though they're trying to talk about what effects it could do, what they're hoping to find out, and that's when the colonel is like, the colonel's concerned because he asks, "I hope we're not writing the chapter of our extinction, the last chapter of our extinction," because they were talking about this could be a new chapter of a new Genesis. He goes, "Well, I sure hope this won't also be our last chapter with how things may go." And so once that happens, they put on their suits. They go out to where they blew up the bomb because they want to test the Geiger counts of the radiation levels and everything else. When that happens, I forget the scientist's name, but he goes out there a little bit farther to see what's going on. And that's when he kind of, first off, he tests the electric. I forgot what he was testing, but we know it looks like an electric box that would be on a telephone pole. He looks and he sees something moving. We see kind of like the spikes of this thing moving through the mountain. And he's like, I better go see what that is. Which,
Yeah,
by the
I think
way,
the other professor's called George Ritchie.
okay, thank you. So George Ritchie, so he decides to investigate. Which, by the way, always the worst decision to make in any kind of those films is to go investigate when seeing something larger than life. He goes over. He goes over there to see what's going on. And at that point, that's when he hears the growl, and we see the creature all up. Because why not? They want to know if Santa exists. Who knows?
Exactly.
And
Yes.
so he looks up, and that's when he
Still
sees.
didn't find Santa Claus.
Nope. What they found was a giant angry dinosaur. And so that's when the guy freaks out, plummets, and breaks his leg. Yeah, so Richie sees the creature, freaks out, tries to get away, wasn't watching where he was going, and he accidentally falls down and breaks his leg. Because we find out he can't get up, and so he shoots the flare. So Professor Tom Nettles would come over there and help him. And as he's trying to see what's going on, he sees the creature up in the mountains and causes an avalanche, which almost buries him in it. And if I had to guess, from the stress, it's probably from the stress of the situation, the freezing cold temps, and what he just endured, exhausts him. He passes out, and then that's when he shoots up a flare, and the colonel goes, "Hey, you know what's going on?" They're like, "We don't know," and they went over to investigate, and that's when they rush him back because it turns out he's still alive. They check his vitals, but he says, "Help, leg broken, monster." There was a monster up there, so they think he's crazy, and they bring him to a psychologist in New York to help him get some rest. And then I will go ahead and turn it over to someone else.
Well, I just want to, before you say anything, I just want to add a little something to Big Bad, is that there's that one shot, that was reused in another 50s film, and I'm pretty sure everyone knows what that is. That's Kronos. It's that avalanche sequence, the big blocks of ice coming down. But the second shot. Just wanted to add that in there, the little anecdote.
Yeah, I remember that, and I couldn't picture where I had seen it, but then now that you've mentioned, I was like, I'm sure that's like stock footage from another film I've seen.
A lot of
there
films
you go.
Borrowed footage to be reused in various formats from time to time. In fact, speaking of this film, one of the coolest shots they show while you're waiting for the Rhedosaurus to show up in the New York area is they're in the diving bell, and there's this really cool battle between a shark and a very large octopus.
Yes.
And I remember as a kid saying, wow, this is really cool. I almost forgot I was watching a kaiju movie. And funny thing is, that footage is actually also used years earlier in an episode of Flash Gordon. There was some underwater adventure that Flash was supposed to be having, and for some reason on manga they have big octopus and sharks. I think what they do is they artificially enlarge them for the purposes of Flash Gordon. I believe their sub was actually really small, and it was like really big shark, like Megalodon and Super Squid. But in any event, and that footage has been used in other things as well here and there. I believe even Irwin Allen used it once or twice in one of his TV shows, if not a film. But you do, if you know what to watch for, you see the reusing of footage a lot in this time period.
Sure.
Yeah, so basically, he's told everybody, like from the army to the researchers to anybody that will listen, that that there's this creature out there, but no one's believing him. And obviously, he goes to everybody. Then goes to like this paleontologist. He's like the top of his field, which I believe he's called Third Good Elston, and his assistant is Lee Hunter. And these are them together. So he basically goes to them, and first he goes, there's no way a creature from, over 300 million years ago would still be alive today. And then as he's been kind of brushed off again, Elliot, she kind of has like a soft spot for him, and she kind of like thinks, right, maybe I'll stick around and look into things with him. And so she then comes to his apartment, and she's slowly showing him images of different creatures and dinosaurs of that period to try and, like, see if he can spot one that is the one that he saw out there in the Antarctic. As that's going on, you see like a couple of instances where you see the Redosaurus where it literally sinks a fishing ship.
Actually, that happened before.
Yeah, but that happened, and then after that happened, he's now looking out to speak to people who have also seen the same creature to prove that he's right, that this thing is out there and it does exist. And then you have like the sinking of the ship. He speaks to that French guy in French who kind of fobs him off. And then there's like the fishing boat incident where you see it come out of the ocean and sink the fishing boat. And then obviously he brings somebody who's a survivor of one of the attacks and shows them the image of the Redosaurus. And he's like, that's exactly the one I saw. And he's like, well, that's the same image I picked. And this is where the professor or the paleontologist is now starting to like come around to the idea that this thing could generally be out there.
Right. But isn't it kind of funny? I mean, just real quick, isn't it kind of funny how this film is it's very short, but it's well structured enough? Like, okay, get all this pile of information, but you don't. I mean, you do see the beast, but it's like we don't really see it in whole until like later on, which is all
about
we call the money. Yes, exactly. It's the money shot.
Aboard. Yeah.
Yeah, we see glimpses of it again. It's like before he goes to paleontologist, we see that glimpse of just its mugshot, just this right here as it attacks the ship, and then after, as they're investigating, trying to figure out what dinosaur this is, and he goes to the crew member that was with the captain that brushed him off. We see the same just this mugshot again when it attacks the lighthouse, but then we see its silhouette outside. We see that white shot, we just see the silhouette of it as it attacks the lighthouse.
Well, I think we're all shit with pants if I find out a dinosaur running around the street. Yes. But then one of my favourite scenes happens later, not long after this comes about, and it is the lighthouse scene where the Redosaurus, it's now starting to make its way down. I think is it the East Coast? And this is where you get like you've only seen like a little glimpse of it, like in the water, or you've never actually seen it come upon like attack something big. And this is where you got your first incident where it attacked the lighthouse. And I remember as a little kid seeing this for the first time. I don't know where I seen it, might have been my grandparents' house. But when I seen this for the very first time, I can generally tell you I was legitimately terrified.
I can say when I first saw this clip, it would have been with Cinemasker's Monster Madness, because I think for his intros he did, that creature was used, or at least that entire, what we would call the money shot scene, was literally used in his intros along with an amalgamation of clips. And from what I can understand, I did my research on this film too, and I checked out the short story. I was able to read it. I was able to get a plot and an understanding from what I can understand. The creature attacked because it confused the lighthouse because the foghorn noises it made as another member of its species, and it was like a territorial dispute to it.
But can I add something real quick? It's that one shot of the lighthouse and everything. I love how this is stop motion. I love how Harryhausen, he's such a gifted individual, how he individually has the bricks that you see dropping down individually like that, and knowing that that's just one step to, of course, CGI. But the thing about it is, back then you had to handcraft these things. You had to get your hands dirty to do these kind of shots. I mean, that's time consuming, but it really shows how the craft back then was so intricate with this man. Again, and of course,
I understand. It's like if you wanted to move or do something, you had to move for like a tiny inch at a time for each shot. So that way, when you played it, it actually looked like it was moving the way it should.
Because it's 24 frames a second. So you plotted it out. I mean, it was done by hand. And now, if movies use computer controlled animatronics and like Kubo and the Two Strings, it's hand done, but it's beautifully done. But no, Harryhausen, it's foundational to my childhood. All the best movies, and the Jason and the Argonauts and the Sinbad
A lot
movies.
of mine
and,
are too.
Yeah, anything stop motion, it was just like that's beautiful.
Yeah, he
no,
was ahead of his time back in the day. Ray Harryhausen. Like, he figured out how to, like, obviously, I remember one of my favourite bits of work he ever did was that, I cannot remember which film, where you've got the skeletons and the skeletons.
Jason the Argonauts.
Yeah, that's one of the best scenes and one of the creepiest scenes, too.
I generally
just laying
feel
down
like
the teeth and then the skeletons come out, like, and then the fight scene is so well choreographed. It still holds up. I mean, it still looks amazing.
That's one of the best, like, what you call a special effects sequences ever made, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that was Malcolmus with that one, because that was time consuming, but it was brilliant.
Yeah. Also, the Medusa with the snake.
That's
how we crafted Medusa. Well. That for me was just unbelievable for its time. And I would rather watch the stop motion stuff than the crappy CGI stuff when they did the remake of Clash of the Titans with all the special effects. The CGI. I can honestly tell you, I'd rather watch the originals.
I couldn't even watch it.
For me, hold up better.
I was gonna say I couldn't even watch that. I mean, I tried to watch that, but it's like, dude, I'm not feeling something. I mean, I feel that's the thing about Clash of the original one, the classic. You felt something that this generated bullshit is. I'm sorry if I'm cussing, but it's not doing anything for me. I'm just sorry. Maybe it's because I'm old school. I guess that's probably why.
Yeah, I could never. I watched the only time I watched the remake was in the cinema, but I never touched it after. I'm like,
and I couldn't believe that CGI remake got a sequel because there was Clash of the
Titans,
and then they did the next one, which was even more diabolical.
If they could make the CGI look like stop motion animation, that might be really cool. A cool effect.
Well, the sad thing is they can, but it's more expensive to go that extra level.
Oh, I see.
So
they're lazy.
The whole point of CGI is that it's cheaper than the practical effects, and I understand it. So they use the CGI now again, like for example Jurassic Park, which is over 30 years old, but the CGI in Jurassic Park I think is better than what they're doing today.
Definitely.
It was wonderful.
Very, very, very expensive.
It's
but it paid off because 30 years later it stands out. How many other films can you look back using CGI from that time that don't stand out? They just.
I know we kind of went off track a little bit, but I'll show you this one thing because I've just finished also doing my review of the Odyssey. Now, if you look at this, the Odyssey has a practical Cyclops.
Oh.
So this is why that's why the Odyssey cost probably about $300 million to make, because they use real animatronics and practical effects for some of the scenes. Like Christopher Nolan in that particular movie put his heart and soul into making practical things. There's a certain scene with the witch Circe, which I'll not spoil, happens in Odyssey. When it happened in the movie, I was trying to figure out how they did it.
Okay.
It was like so like crazy how they did this particular scene. I was like, I couldn't figure out how they did it. It was that good. And the great thing with Nolan, though, when he does things with big special effects or green screen, or he always has a mixture of green screen, something massive and practical, alongside the actors, that the green screen becomes the secondary thing. You focus on the practical thing in the scene. And I think that's why he works much better as a director.
Yeah, I think he's like I mentioned before, he's like me, he's like Thrash, he's like Mark. We're old school when it comes to techniques, and we like to see. I don't know how Mark and Thrash feel about it, but I think maybe at the time when we saw those old practical effects, might have taken them for granted a little bit. But as time progressed, I realized no, that's how you really see really tangible, good effects
What's what there was. I mean, we didn't get really an evolution until the 80s, and you get the gore effects, like what we see with the Thing,
Splatter.
the remake of the Thing, or the Splatter,
Yeah.
you know, those kinds of practical effects, or like an American Werewolf in London, where you know, that was like next level special effects. But all those guys were inspired by Harryhausen, and they will all.
I do think we're on the cusp of like a change again, because everything all seems to be coming new again. And what I mean by that is when Ryan Gosling agreed to do, because he was an executive producer on Project Hail Mary, he says, I'll only do it if we don't use a lot of CGI. I want practical. Like the rig, the spaceship he's in on Project Hail Mary, it's a rig. It was a made full-on spaceship replica. The rock creature, Rocky, practical puppet. And then what blew me away is the scenes where he's sitting and he's looking out the window at like the stars. So what they did is they went to NASA and they got a proper image of the sky map of the real stars, and it was basically a giant video screen showing off the map from NASA on the wall. So when he's standing on the rig looking at them stars, he's actually looking at a real map of the real solar system. So that's why it didn't feel or look like a green screen, because it wasn't. It was an actual giant LED screen showcasing the actual stars.
Every dollar they spent was worth it.
Yeah,
the way that film looks, it's visually stunning. It really is.
And Ryan Gosling is also in the middle of making the next Star Wars film called Star Wars Starfighter, and he's only signed on as an executive producer and to be at the star of the movie if they use practical effects. So you'll probably see more practical effects coming from big screen actors or producers, because they know people are sick of the shoddy, crappy, empty CGI fests that we've had for years and years. And I do feel like there are certain directors and filmmakers that are turning back to traditional filmmaking because they know it's what the audience are wanting.
And just to kind of clarify something on that with Ryan Gosling, is that when he did The First Man, most of that film was done practically. You know, there wasn't a whole lot of green screen. It was more, you know, in camera shots and everything. And of course, he won an Oscar for the effects. And to think that when you bring up with him doing a new Star Wars kind of film, I'm hoping, as you say, they use practical effects, but use the old traditional like miniatures, you know, pyrotechnics or anything like that. I mean, use that. I mean, incorporate with it with the CG. I mean, you get a better, you know, feel for the effects. It feels more lived in. I mean, otherwise, I feel like if you just do it all CG, it's like, I mean, blue people, it's going to seem like that's all you're going to get. That's all we're going to see. It's like
Dances with
like,
Smurfs.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that's that all you can do. I mean, yeah, computers are good for something, but kind of use them, you know, kind of like, you know, like intricately.
Cheaper does not always mean better.
No,
you know, and it's like a pendulum swing, and I think we're going to be able to look at it as a tool down the road. Like as more and more people get access to those kinds of tools in their hands, and they you know, they're going to be able to use them at different levels. But I think we learn and we respond, and I think audiences can tell the difference. And some don't care. Some honestly don't care. But for those of, when you have a movie like the Project Hail Mary, or when you see a movie like this is the specific area or era of these kinds of movies. And so it's not quite a kaiju film, but it is a monster movie. And that's like the bread and butter of what I grew up with. And for me, they're always going to be good. I'm always going to appreciate the effort and the art. And even though the beast it came from the sea, only has was it a quadrupus or something like that, or a tripus? Six. Okay, six. That never bothers me. You know, if anything else, it just shows me the ingenuity. Like, okay, we can only do 6.
Yes.
Okay, what can we do with that? You know, so yeah, it's to me, it's nostalgia. And it doesn't feel outdated. Because those movies to me have a special place, and even though they may not hold in some, like I've outgrown some of them, perhaps like some of the Sinbad movies aren't as good as when I was 7 for me, obviously, but I can still appreciate them. And if I want to like revisit them, I want those effects to be like that. You know,
yes, definitely. Yeah. Jake Hall, my good friend, do you want to carry on with the plot for us?
Sure. So after Bismuth gets the guy from the shipwreck, and they pick out the picture, they call the captain that was there that thought that they were being funny and all of that he was crazy and all of that. Well, turns out that it's true because they receive reports from wreckage all around. So the archaeologist decides that they want to go find this thing because it's on a direct path to New York. So they get a biosphere sphere, and he and another gentleman go down into the biosphere. And as they're going down, they're communicating with the girl and business. And as they're talking, the archaeologist is like, "We have company. We have two locals that apparently aren't going to get along." So the octopus and type of shark are battling for their territory. Well, the Rhedosaurus ends up coming and basically devouring them.
Can I see the scene where you see the Rhedosaurus? I love the scene where you see it swimming.
Yes.
And you can see its tail waggling and you can see it kind of doing that. It's like they really put the effort in to make it look and feel like a real underwater creature that's not just walking across the bottom of the ocean. That actually showed you it physically attempted to swim in the water. The only thing they should have done, I think, different that is to add bubbles.
Yeah. So as he's like, put Lee on. And, he's explaining to him that, they found the creature and he's trying to describe it. Well, unfortunately, they end up dying because the Rhedosaurus ends up, you don't see it, but he obviously crushes the bathysphere and kills them. And then they go back to the mainland, and Lee and Besnan are talking in the room. And then you flash forward to a pier where people are working. It's like, and two guys stop, and they each are going to smoke a cigarette. Well, they hear the strange noise, and out comes the Rhedosaurus, and then starts wreaking havoc into the city. And as it's doing that, it grabs a car, shakes it, drops it, and then this police officer, who thinks he's smart enough, decides to take his pistol out, start shooting at the thing. It's like bang, bang, bang,
I
bang.
think it's funny how they try to make him look so macho. Like he had that gruff face look, and he's just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get him." He's just shooting, and as soon as he realized it had no effect, he had that look that said, "Well, crap, why did I do that?"
Yeah, so as he's reloading, the Rhedosaurus just grabs him, picks him up, and just eats him. And the creature continues to go on through the city, rampaging. People are screaming like, eh, eh. And then there's like a barrage.
How'd that go?
What were they doing,
Can
G?
you make that sound again? I need to be reminded of what they were doing.
What was that sound like? G,
I didn't know people.
A
made
regular
that sound.
Frank Welker.
Anyway, so they're going down. The police create a barrage, start shooting at the creature. It ends up going through a building, and then a group of people are standing next to the building that he goes through, and then the buildings fall over.
Mm-hmm.
And then it ends up going into nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
The military and all that set up a base camp pretty much and set a boundary of electric fence, and they're going to use it to stop the creature. Well, creature comes up, gets to the fence, starts biting it. It's electrified. Sparks go everywhere. And then Bismuth's like, shoot him in the neck when he raises up. Guy fires the bazooka, hits the creature in the neck, and it's got a wound now, so blood's coming out. But because it's injured, in the creature's blood, it has a deadly virus, and it's making pretty much everyone sick, all the military people and people going in. So they're trying to figure out what they need to do to stop this thing. So they end up deciding that the only way they can do it to kill this beast, which the beast ends up landing in a amusement park near a roller coaster ride on Coney Island. And Bisman's like, the only way we can kill this thing to stop this disease is with a radioactive isotope. And
Yes.
and in that scene too, when they arrive and waiting on the isotope, you see Clan Leaf.
Van Cleef.
Thank you. So they're waiting on the radioactive isotope, and they only have one shot. So as the creature's still destroying the stuff, they decide they need to get at the very top of the roller coaster to shoot the isotope. So one of the maintenance people starts the roller coaster. They go up the roller coaster where they need to go. And he says, better not miss. This is the only shot. And he's carefully aiming, very carefully. And then it shows on the creature where it's wounded. They fire the isotope like that. And the creature just starts roaring in pain. And because of that, the carts end up going down the slide. Hold on just a sec.
Uh-huh.
And as the creature's still wailing, the carts end up falling over and hitting a bucket of barrels that causes an explosion and sets fire to the thing. As the two guys are starting to climb down because of the rail cart, and then they each go over there. Creature creates his own escape route through the roller coaster, and then as it's frees itself, it pretty much dies, and you see it go, and you see it laying there, and that's how the film ends.
Can you repeat the sound the creature made again? I need to be reminded what it sounded like. But I want to say something too. Backer, when the professor and the sailor were in that cage at the bottom of the sea, I think I had to point out the irony that it seems like every time they have a character mention, I'm gonna retire soon, or I didn't think I'd make it to retirement, or I'm gonna take my first vacation in a year, so this is my first holiday in 30 years. It's like later on down the road in the film, they literally die.
Yes.
It's like you kind of saw the death come, because it's like every time they make a character say, hey, I'm going to take my first holiday in so many years, I'm going to retire soon.
It's like wearing a red shirt. Might as well put a red shirt on them.
Yeah, it's like, okay, way to tell us that you plan on making them die later on in the film without telling us.
But it's a meaningful death because you like the doc, the professor. You know,
you really
like
do.
These characters. Yeah.
My favorite example of that, though, is in Battle Beyond the Stars, where John Saxon's last words are literally, "I want to live forever," and then he dies.
Oh yeah, have you guys seen that film that's on the Cuban War? That's on the Cuban War it's like President Roosevelt. Yeah. It has I forget the name of the. He's Sam Elliott. He plays the sergeant. He goes, "Nothing can kill me," and then he gets shot dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
I agree with the Queen when I too felt sorry for the Rhedosaurus.
Yeah, because literally it was a creature.
It's not a monster. I mean, it's wakened up, and it's just out of time.
It's literally, it's not even a monster. It's
an animal, and then it's frightened. And
it's an animal that's been awakened in the wrong time, at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Right.
Like you see, when it's heading to like the Lake Hudson, it's going there not because it's deliberately trying to cause harm. It's going there because it's its natural territory.
It's literally following its natural migration patterns.
Yes, because I'm sure the paleontologist said that during that time they had found rhinoceros skeletons and bones in the Hudson River, so he kind of had an idea that was the location it was heading to, because obviously that's where it migrates to, because that's where it belonged in its time period.
And there's an interesting duality in that subplot, because remember, this is only 8 years after the Second World War ended. And we watch the progression. First, it's in the Arctic. Then it's in Canada. Then it takes out the lighthouse in Maine. Then it's in Massachusetts. It's heading towards New York, the symbolic capital of America, the heart of the entire nation. And it's in World War II when you watch the Axis progress, and it's like you start biting your nails because you're like, well, how far are they going to get? And then if you are the Axis, conversely, when you see the Allies marching in on you, it has a very sort of militaristic unfolding that I always loved. And Godzilla does the same thing, actually, in many scenes.
Sure.
Yeah,
But I have to
obviously
say
this film. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Just real quick, I'm sorry. No, I'll just say that's the thing right there. It's like you have to make these films are made cheaply. We know that, but it has to kind of make sense, because it has to have this feel like, does this make sense for this creature? And like Thrash mentions, like it's migrating from one place to another, and like I say, it's been a million years, but it has to kind of have some sense of doing that, because otherwise it seems like you just randomly go somewhere. I mean, like I say, we see Godzilla attack Tokyo. We see the thing from from attack. I forget, maybe it was Rome. I forget. Anyway, the point is
20 million miles to Earth.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I think it's Rome, right? If I'm not mistaken.
It's the Ymir.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, it has to make sense for it to migrate or go somewhere. Not just to say, oh, we're just going to attack a city and just be done with it. No, it's got to have some basis of groundedness for it to happen that way. And I feel like back then, even though these were cheap made films, they did make it seem like, oh, that does make sense for it to do this.
And I will have to say too, as I had to reply to the professor's comment. I feel the same model of the Rhinosaurus was used in the Sinbad films for the dragon when it took on the Cyclops.
It was.
I was going to say,
that's what I figured, because the entire the dimensions, how it was designed, and just the physique was super similar to the Rhinosaurus, especially with how the legs were. Especially the mouth, especially the head and the tail were just all similar. As well as when you look at the spikes going down its back, the spikes going down its back were very similar, except it was in the span of a fin, like what you would see on a Dimetrodon or a Spinosaurus. But other than that, the dimensions were completely the same, just maybe slight different tweaks to the design to make the creature look different and unique, but it was still the same model.
Well, what Ray Harryhausen did was he tore down the original Rhedosaurus to create the dragon in Sinbad. So the Rhedosaurus statue or prop is no longer in existence because Ray Harryhausen tore it up to create the dragon in Sinbad.
Okay.
Moment of silence.
Rhinoceros, but it's a creature that has lived long past its legacy has been made. The film has had such an impact on filmmaking. Ray Harryhausen has made an impact on filmmaking, and this was the aftermath and the cultural impact that was created from Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. So the film financially successful release. Because of the film's financial success, they decided, RKO decided to re-release King Kong, which spawned the giant monster film genre of the 1950s. It is considered the first live-action film to feature a giant monster unleashed by an atomic bomb. According to numerous retrospective sources, Hiroshio Honda's Godzilla 1954 was heavily inspired by the film and this concept. Its initial proposal was allegedly titled The Giant Monster from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And of course, and the original story by Shigeru Kayama featuring Godzilla destroying a lighthouse. However, producer Tomoyuki Tanaka claimed to have been ignorant of the beast's existence. Author Steve Railfy and Ed Godzizaruk, I can't even say that name, I'm not even going to try, noted how Japanese critics compared the two films but felt that Godzilla lacked direct resemblance to it. During his late life, Harryhausen expressed his belief that the original Godzilla film was a rip-off of The Beast and allegedly disliked the Toho monster, presumably due to the aftermath of the 1962 film King Kong vs. Godzilla. Harryhausen continued to gain popularity for his efforts on monster movies such as It Came From Beneath the Sea, 1955, and 20 Million Miles of Earth, 1957. He eventually decided to venture into other genres, accepting that Godzilla and other Japanese kaiju movies were making the giant monster genre tiresome. In 1958, the Rhinoceros model was reused by Harryhausen to portray the dragon in the Seventh Voyages of Simba. Likewise, Laurie later directed two productions featuring fictional giant dinosaurs. The Giant Behemoth in 1958 was a British-American co-production panned by critics for its close resemblance to the beast. Laurie accused himself of plagiarism for it when scripting. Gorgo 1961 is considered the British edition of a Godzilla movie or rip-off thereof. So there we go. So Daiei Films later yielded the Gamera franchise. The original 1965 film Gamera, the giant monster, depicted the titular monster that was awoken by a nuclear explosion in the Arctic and later destroyed a lighthouse. This was all connected, or was a tribute, they reckoned, to the beast. So, and then he has another reference to, in another more modern impact from the beast from 20,000 Fathoms. The film Cloverfield from 2008, which also involves a giant monster terrorizing New York City, inserts a frame from the beast from 20,000 Fathoms, along with frames from King Kong and them, into the handheld camera footage used throughout the film. Now, I've never spotted that, but now that I know that, I'll probably look for that throughout.
I know what they're talking about too.
Mm-hmm. The film was featured in the TCM Greatest Classic Film Collection Sci-Fi Adventure DVD box set, along with them World Without End and Satellite in the Sky. It was also released on standalone DVD and Blu-ray. Since its release, The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms has been assessed as one of the greatest monster science fiction and horror films of the 1950s. It was also nominated for AFI's Top 10 Science Fiction Film list and listed among the best B movies of its decade by Collinger and Screen Rant. So it's gotten a lot of praise and it's had a lot of love. But I'm going to turn to you, gentlemen, and simply ask your overall thoughts in what your overall, what you feel about the film, and do you still think it has its place and it holds up today? So we're going to start with Jedi Granville.
Well, I can only say when they made this film, they let the cat out of the bag forever. I mean, it got the ball rolling for what we see nowadays. And let's be honest. I mean, yes, if it wasn't for this film to generate some kind of hype, and then for someone to say, let's release King Kong, we wouldn't have Gojira. We wouldn't get that. Mm-hmm. And then Gojira spanned all these other kind of kaiju films or special effects films. And then we have all these other different kind of things that were inspiring George Lucas, Spielberg, and other talented individuals that on the Western side. It all was a domino effect. If you didn't have one, it wouldn't lead to the other. And I feel like, and you mentioned Cloverfield, that's a great example of something that somebody say, we don't have a Godzilla of our own. Well, we did, but they kind of messed it up. And I feel like it's just something that you just can't put back in the hole. It's just that once it was released, it's there forever. So thankfully, Beast with 20,000 Phantoms is an example of like, yes, if it hadn't happened, we wouldn't be here talking about it.
Correct. We wouldn't have a genre. There would be no kaiju genre. There would be no big monster hysteria of the 1950s without this and King Kong being the first two, because you then had them that slowly followed. So it kind of just took on a world of its own, the giant monster genre. Big Bad Wolf, your overall thoughts?
So my thoughts is it's a very great giant monster film. When it came out, many people probably had no idea what to think of this, and they went to watch it. Probably blew them away by storm, just because it creates that mystery and curiosity of what happened. Of can nuclear weapons really do this, and is there really something out there that's been living for you that we don't know about? Which is the same thing that King Kong has done. It's generated this huge curiosity of could something that's been alive since the prehistoric age could possibly still be existing out there and we don't know. Which is why a lot of those movies like Beast and even Jaws help with that. Or even nowadays we have Meg or the Monsterverse and other today's age Godzilla films. Is it makes you wonder, can these things exist, especially monster films that explore the depths of the ocean? Because it's like, with the ocean being 95% unexplored, there's probably something down there we are unsure of. We just can't prove it because it can never be explored because the human body wouldn't be able to survive the pressure. But it's like, as Walter has stated, this thing literally got the ball rolling. It opened Pandora's box, never to be closed again. Because we had so many kaiju films come out, like, again, we had Godzilla. Without Godzilla, there wouldn't be Yungari. There wouldn't be Gamma. There wouldn't be a handful. There wouldn't be Gorgo. There wouldn't be Gappa. There wouldn't be a handful of other films out there just because of Godzilla. But because of Godzilla, it's thanks to the Rhedosaurus. Harryhausen really found a way to bring this creature to life and really change the paradigm of what we know of cinema and storytelling forever, as well as the curiosity of the human mind.
100%. Mark Justice.
I just really like this movie because it's like comfort food, Every time I watch these movies, or The Terror from Beyond Space, or The Thing from Another World, or Them, or The Blob, this is the era I grew up with. All these kind of gentle monster movies that were on, and so I go back to these because they are so comforting, and I'm still just as enamored with watching the Rhedosaurus come to life and knock the lighthouse down. Or my favorite scene is when he's walking through the city and he steps on the car, and just watching the animation of the car crush, and how detailed that is, and that's just so enjoyable to watch the effort and time and the care to make this creature seem like a real entity. And that's again why it's so sad, the ending. It's like King Kong. It's like, no, you don't want to watch that end. But no, it's just very fun, and I feel like the nostalgia as a kid. That's fine. I'm just wrapping up. Yeah.
I was gonna say, one thing I found humorous is that New York scene. There's a scene where he's like picking up, when he like bites down on the car and he's picking up this passenger, and the person driving still inside. And the only thing I'm thinking is this guy's probably thinking, there's no way my insurance will cover this. Because I can imagine the phone call he's probably going to make. They're like, I'm sorry, sir, we can't exactly cover the damage done by a giant monster. You're on your own.
Yes.
We never had that in the agreement.
It falls under the active Godzilla clause.
There you go.
J. Cole. Your overall thoughts on this particular film?
It's a classic. It'll still stand to the test of time. Uh, it's what started it all. Like everyone else has said, it's the first atomic creature that's born, and really enjoyed this film.
Good. Alvin?
It's a classic, like all of you guys have said. I agree. I feel like it paved the way for Godzilla, King Kong, all these kaijus in the universe.
Yeah. Yes.
And if
What
we
about-
didn't have Tyrannosaurus, then we wouldn't have Godzilla, we wouldn't have King Kong, all these other creatures.
Oh, well, King Kong came first in 1933, but I think because that was such a massive success, being a giant, I would say it wasn't a monster movie. It was like a giant animal movie rather than a monster movie.
Or
But
it was just your
We wouldn't have
classic
King Kong
adventure
versus
film.
Godzilla.
It's like
Yeah.
I would say I think what you're trying to say is it was pretty much like your classic adventure film.
Mm-hmm.
So, Thrash, your overall thought on this particular film?
What can I say? I loved it 50 years ago. I love it just as much, if not more, today. And just to reiterate what all you gentlemen have said, this movie is to kaiju what Dracula is to the vampire subgenre. It was that impactful. It just can't be understated, even though I think we've gone to great lengths to overstate it. But again, it will always have a place in kaiju film.
Yes,
Another
definitely.
way to put it is it's what it is to the kaiju genre, what the Thing is to the horror sci-fi genre. Because the Thing's changed the paradigm for horror forever.
And that too was based on a sci-fi novella. It was based on Who Goes There by John C. Campbell.
Yes.
Yes.
And you know what? I love the fact that there are 3 completely different adaptations of that novella, which are all good in their own right.
Yes.
So you can have
Yes.
3 people completely have a completely different vision of it, and it still works.
Yes.
That's the sign of good science fiction.
Good writing.
100%.
Good writing.
Good. Yes, there you go.
Yeah, and that's where it all begins. I mean, every good story begins with good writing, right? I mean, that's
Yes,
that's
definitely.
you have to have it, and whether
Yes.
it carries through, whether it's
Well,
the
listen,
dialogue or the plot, yeah.
Yeah, every film has to start with a piece of paper and something written down on it, whether good or bad. That's your starting point. As for my thoughts, I've always enjoyed this particular film. It's always been a film I can watch time and time again and never get bored. It for me, like, I wish if I had any negatives, it would be I wish we saw more of the Rhinoceros. Like, it's like the pace in the movie, it's trying to tell this very slow burn movie, and just when things I feel are getting really good, when he enters the city, it's not long after that it comes to an abrupt end. But it also makes us appreciate the movie because then it doesn't go too far-fetched or go too crazy. You enjoy it for what it is. And like I say, I can watch this time and time again. And it's a classic. And without, King Kong, Beast from Thousand Fathoms, and even the movie Them, there would be no giant monster genre. We would not be on my channel, Entertainment Headquarters, and I would not have a segment called Kaiju Konnections without it. So it's well respected, and it still holds up the test of time for me. But gentlemen, this has been a lot of fun talking about one of my favourite movies. So I'm going to quickly go around and see what you guys have got coming up on your channels and your, heading your way. So we'll start off with Jedi Granville.
Well, real quickly, come this Saturday, I will be discussing with Nubis the the outlandish Stephen King only directed film Maximum Overdrive, because
Good luck.
yeah, I mean, if anyone knows,
Something tells me that film wasn't the best.
it's not so much the best, but it just say that if you look behind the scenes, the story of the movie is little bit less interesting than what was behind the scenes. I'll put it like that. And and then that following Sunday, next Sunday, I will have a panel talking about the 70s disaster films of that time, like Earthquake, The Godfather of them all, Airport,
Flaming
and
Towering Inferno.
Yo,
Inferno for sure. Yes. All the what's up, Judge? I say okay. And just for an added bonus down the line, I'm thinking Thrash, you might be want to get on this. I'm going to be doing a retrospective of a very classic sci-fi film, The Day the Earth Stood Still. That's not until, like, say, later on, but I want to talk about it. That's a ultimate film that I feel really got the ball rolling with a lot of sci-fi that we see nowadays.
I'd like to be on that one, Jedi.
Yeah, I'll let you know. It's one of my absolute favorites.
Well, if you gentlemen would like to join, I would definitely like to have you on there.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yes. Glad to. Dorada, Big Toe.
Yes. Okay. Big Bad Wolf.
So as for me, I'll finally get back to editing my backrooms videos. I kind of took a hiatus for the last last week, but last 2 weeks of live streams just had stuff come up on Saturdays that call for more of my immediate attention. But I'll be back to continuing my live stream playthrough of the classic PS2 game, Destroy All Humans remake on my PC on Saturdays at 10 a.m. And I'll get back to making my backroom video game videos, which come out every Tuesday at 4. And I'll get back to writing a bit more. I need to continue and finish up my When Stars Drown series, because I feel that's getting close to coming to a conclusion. And then I also start on my werewolf stories that I am heavily inspiring by The Thing.
Nice. So Mark, what's coming to your channel?
Well, on Insane Radio, we've got a couple good episodes coming out. We just did an episode on Project Hail Mary, and then we did an episode on favorite toys from our childhood, which was just a nice deep dive. So that'll be coming out down the road. That was my episode to lead. And then on Heavy Metal Horror, we just got a new co-host. His name is Nemo, and he's going to be joining us for our horror and sci-fi episodes. And our newest episode is an interview with a band from Virginia, and they have a really, really great album called Nothing Man. That's Age of Ruin is the band. And then we have coming up in a few weeks, we've got our top 10 big hair metal bands on our episode called Can You Smell the Aquanet? So yeah, that's what's going on.
Is this 80s?
That's a lot of great stuff.
Is this 80s bands or 70s?
Yeah, big hair. Yeah, all the big hair 80s. Right, a lot of big hair 80s metals bands. Yeah, our top 10s, and yeah.
Because the reason I asked that because I might want to join on with that because I mean, look, I'm a headbanger too, growing up back in the 80s. So
well, it's already been recorded.
Oh, it's already okay. It's already been.
Yeah, we don't record live.
That's one.
Yeah. Oh no, we would love to have you on sometime. I'll send you my list of things. But
let me know because I like to be a part of that.
We've recorded enough episodes. We always record ahead of time, but we've got enough extra actually in the bank that we could not have to record another next season. So I'm going to be putting a lot more. No. I'm just going to double the content. Chop Top, my co-host, fell and broke his ankle. So for about 2 months, he had home recovery. So every Thursday and Friday we'd get together to keep our sanity, and he had nothing to do. So we just started doing extra episodes. And then we did so many extra episodes that I didn't have to do anything for all of next year. I'm like, well, I don't want to sit around and do nothing for a year. So instead of putting them out every other week, we're just going to put out every week. So we've got like 30 shows in the can, and we're excited. So Nemo's joined us. We're going to do a lot more horror stuff. We got a really great show coming up. We're going to talk about the kick-ass chicks of horror and sci-fi. And we got a lot of great stuff coming out this year.
I just want to respond to one thing. I've seen this in the comments. So the Odyssey wasn't good. So I've seen a lot of the comments being said about the Odyssey in the group, in the chat. So I personally enjoyed the Odyssey. I think if you like Christopher Nolan, he is a very grounded director. When it comes to his work, he's not going to particularly make it like the classic Jason in the Argonauts or Clash of the Titans. He's very grounded. It's a very bleak and dark tale. The lighting can be very dark, but you know what? It matches the tone of the kind of story he's trying to tell. But I do respect him for all of the hard work he went into it, because you can't tell that the CGI, or you can see where he's put a lot of effort into the practical side. The performances were great. For me, the standout was Robert Pattinson, so you'll have to check it out. But everyone has an opinion, but in my opinion, I thought for the dark tone that they had, because it's a bleak tale, I think he did a brilliant job. He captured the mood of what the tale is meant to be. But that's just my opinion, and everybody's opinion is valid, because if we all liked or disliked the same things, the world would be a boring place.
True.
So with that said, Jake Hall, what have you got coming up, my friend?
I know sometime next month, me and Anubis are going to get together for the next Kaiju Unlimited, where we're going to be talking about 2 Kaiju as my pick. I know you and I will be getting together sometime to review The Human Vapor. And pretty much whatever else comes up that if I'm interested in joining, I'll join as well.
Yeah,
so.
cool. Ulvin, what's coming to your channel, my friend?
What is coming up on us? On Thursday, we're recording for Henshin Revolution podcast. This is our show that covers Ultraman, Kamen Rider, Super Sentai, Garo, Metal Heroes, all that jazz. It's every other week. So we do the watch party the week before, and then the week after is the review.
Where can we find that? Is that on YouTube?
Yes, if you go on my channel, it's on a I think it's on a playlist, but I can send you the link also if you want.
Great. Yeah.
We haven't done the Ultraman. We're getting ready to start the Kamen Rider stuff with Shin Kamen Rider. That's our next review coming out. We'll be recording that on Thursday.
Nice.
That show is a thing. Then we have Silver Screen Savants with DJ Anubis and me as co-host. We are not doing Savants this month because, I guess you could call it because of G-Fest fatigue. There's a thing called convention fatigue. The best cosplayer, Mealing T, that was at G-Fest, said it best. And so I got behind with stuff. So that's why instead we'll just bring it back in August, and we're bringing it back with 1981, I think, Flash Gordon.
Oh.
You guys are welcome to join.
That'll be a good one, Flash Gordon.
I know Kevin's joining us, but then we came up with I sent Anubis this idea. He hasn't done the thumbnail for it. He's the one that does the thumbnails and stuff. Really well done. And we are covering 13 Ghosts on September 26th.
Nice. The original?
That's a good one. Apparently they're doing it. So they're not doing it. I've heard they're doing a 13th Ghost television series.
Oh.
No.
But they're the one with the monk actor in it is the one we're.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the modern version.
Yeah.
Had Martin Milner from Adam 12 and Route 66. So yeah.
But that's all right now. And then let me think. Also in October, the second week of October, we are doing Monster Squad on Savant.
Oh, nice.
Cool. Nice. So, Thrash, what is coming to your channel?
Well, in about 45 minutes, I'm going to be going live. Me and I guess you'd call it the Thrash team. We're going to be doing our tribute to the late, great Sam Neill and his many wonderful contributions to television and the big screen. Hope some of you guys can come watch if you'd like. We'd love to have you guys with us. Tomorrow I'm going to be working with Dave Sundstrom, and we're going to be having a tribute to the late, great Randolph Mantooth, who is probably best known for his work on the American TV show Emergency. But
Yeah.
you guys would probably remember him best. I'm guessing a lot of you are Battlestar Galactica fans. He did a 2 or 3 part episode of the original Battlestar Galactica as
Oh, nice.
one of the last survivors of the planet Tara, which they confused with Earth. Don't ask me how they know Earth was also known as Terra, but it was still a great micro installment, and we're going to be doing a send off of him because he was pretty epic, and the show was very influential in American television. I'm trying to get in touch with Retro Nerd Girl. For those of you who are familiar with her, she wants to do a collaboration on. We haven't quite picked yet, but it's going to be some 80s cult cinema. And other than that, Sunday afternoons, I go on The Unapologetic Geek. And as of late today, we were talking about the works of Tim Curry, but I think we're going to be doing cult sci-fi next week. We haven't quite decided. But that's me.
Nice.
I
As
love
for
that there's
me-
so much going on. I mean, I absolutely love that we all have projects and everything's going on. We're cross-pollinating, doing other things, and just kind of keeping the love of alive. You know, as Jedi Granville says, keep the love alive.
Yes.
Exactly.
And
Well,
this
I'll-
just makes me so very
I'll-
happy.
Yeah, that's a great thing when I started YouTube. There's that many different channels that I enjoy, and to be able to collab with all these amazing people. And you know, I met Thrash through the magic of YouTube and social media, and we've done a few streams together. You've now been on the channel a couple of times, Mark. So it's nice to see we're all connect and to be able to and just talk about things we're passionate about, which is what it's all about. Like a lot of social media gets a lot of flack, but I think one of the positives is that it does connect people in a positive way.
Yeah.
There is some negativity, but the majority for me has always been quite a positive experience.
Yeah. And I have to say, I was so glad that between the Big Bad Wolf and Kaiju Enigma that they did the entire movie. And wasn't trickling down to me to remember the vivid detail that you guys brought to your synopsis. I'm like reliving the movie moments at a time. Like, oh yeah, that did happen. Oh my god, yeah. I'm just gonna say, yeah, they had this monster and they had to kill it. You know, so I just the passion, the level of passion and the attention, I just love seeing that coming out in the show. So I just really appreciate it.
So very quickly from me. So to wrap up the month of July, because I'm back to work next week, so there'll not be much content next week. I've only got one thing planned, and that is with my co-host DJ Nubis. It's his pick on the Retro Classic Movie Show, and so we're going to be talking about Mad Max 2,
wow,
1980.
Road Warrior.
So that's his pick.
Yeah.
And for the next Kaiju Konnections Classic Kaiju film review, we're going to be talking about this one.
Oh, yes.
Gora, 1957.
Yeah.
So that is the next Kaiju Konnections.
What a great poster.
Yes.
Yeah.
But,
It's a fantastic movie.
Well, that's what we're going to be talking about on the next Kaiju Konnections. But then coming in the month of August on the 3rd is the next Into the Darkness, which is my horror segment. We're going to be talking about 2 movies. It is the See No Evil films that stars Glenn Jacobs, aka Kane from the WWE. And then I think it is it the 8th? So the 8th will be the next classic, the next retro classic movie show, where I have picked my pick, and it's going to be Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Nice.
So that's what's coming on that day. And then, like I say, it's 1964 Dagora came out.
Okay.
So that is what we're going to be talking about. That's going to be on the following week. And then hopefully in the month of August, I do want to do another film special, and I'm hoping to do the Godfather trilogy.
Wow.
Okay.
So if anyone wants to be a part of that, he is a more than welcome to join with. But that's coming up. on the entertainment headquarters, and this has been Kaiju Connections. I hope everyone's enjoyed the show, enjoyed interacting with everybody in the comments. We can't do this without interaction, and you have all been fabulous. So I will say that for all the people that joined, to Queen Glamazona, to Roman, to obviously the Professor, and to everybody else that made, you know, a comment and interacted with me. But like I always say, keep enjoying entertainment, keep on enjoying all things, you know, cinema. And as Jedi Granville likes to say, keep the kaiju love alive. And one more thing.
Oh,
your
You
audio
cut
went
out
out
again.
Couldn't
You
have said
cut
it
out
better,
again.
Yeah.
Well, it's because I stand up. So long live the beast.
Ah.
Yes.
yes,
Peace.
Take
indeed.
care, everybody.